Hey everyone, my name is Josh, and this is the Teams Recap. It has been far too many weeks since the last recap, and with the pace that Microsoft Teams is moving at these days, that means there has been a lot of news that I have not covered in this realm for far too long. So we're going to dig into some of that today. Hopefully we'll get us caught back up. I might have missed a few things as I go over this, but we'll try to cover the high points and yeah, Teams is one of those things that is proving that it is going to be simply difficult for any one individual to keep up to speed with 100% of the news that's out there. Even within the product groups at Microsoft, you can see there are people that work in areas, they specialize in areas, and it's it's a beast to keep up with, and the pace at which they're innovating and building and releasing new features is just phenomenal. So let's try to get caught up today. Before we dive into the team's news, I am going to talk about a new conference. This will be of particular interest to those of you in the Microsoft Teams and the Skype for Business world, especially those that may have been to Link Conference and have longed for those days to return. Not saying that's exactly what's happening here, but you'll see what I mean if you stick around. We'll talk about that first in just a moment. Before I get to the conference, though, there are a number of other community events happening around the globe, actually. I've seen some stuff happening being announced over in the UK. I believe some stuff coming up here pretty quickly in Europe as well, user groups. Not sure about New Zealand, Australia, and APAC in general, but I know for the US, there are a number of meetings that are about to kick off for this Q2, particularly within the SkypeUG.com umbrella. That's now called the Skype and Teams user group, but the website is still SkypeUG.com. There are going to be 22 locations as of this quarter, with a brand new location opening in Boston. Big news there, and good content relating to Teams and roadmap updates and Enterprise Connect and all that good stuff. So, if you are interested in attending one of those, not sure if there's one in the city near you, go to skypeug.com, look it up, and we hope that we will see you at one of those many locations around the U.S. For Q2 starting in May, I believe, is our first meeting. So let's jump over to content now, and we will go to the Infinity screen, and here we go. No, wrong one. There we go. Okay. Comms vNext, as we see here, communications vNext in long form, but what has affectionately been called all over Twitter and LinkedIn, Comms vNext, a brand new conference focusing solely on Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business, Microsoft UC in general, much in the spirit of what Link Conference was, right? And the whole point here is that I have heard, and the others that are organizing this with me have heard from so many of you that have been to Link conferences of old, how awesome they were, how great it was that all the sessions were something you were interested in, that everyone that was there was someone that you could connect with in a meaningful way regarding the technology that you're passionate about. People have missed that. They missed that experience. And that is honestly what we are aiming to recreate with the introduction of Comms vNext. Something along those lines, only difference being in this case, whereas that was a Microsoft conference, this one is still focused on Microsoft technologies, but is community led. Myself and fellow MVPs, Jonathan McKinney, Adam Ball, Pat Richard, have been working for the last several months on creating the ideas, giving form to this idea, getting the plan solidified, working with partners and sponsors to get to where we're at now. And we have finally, over the last couple of weeks, announced Comms vNext and are rapidly pushing it out to the community for registration. Why? Because the first inaugural meeting is going to be June 9th in Denver, Colorado. And here, the backdrop of this website, we see the beautiful city skyline of Denver with the backdrop of the mountains. If we scroll down on our homepage here, we get more info about the conference. We see our cool logo there, and this word highlighted here, very important. This is free. It is free to register for this conference. And what does free get you? Free gets you a keynote delivered by industry legend Mr. No More Phones himself, Jamie Stark from Microsoft. He will be delivering our keynote. Super excited about that. All the other sessions will be delivered by industry thought leaders, MVPs, Microsoft masters, names and people you recognize and associate with delivering good quality content from previous conferences. Um, there will also be displays from our many amazing, awesome sponsors that are making this event possible. So you'll be able to catch up with them, see what's new with them, what they're offering. We're super excited that they are supporting us and will be there with us in Denver. The opportunity to network and rub elbows with all the other Microsoft UC enthusiasts out there, many names that you maybe have interacted with on Twitter and LinkedIn only. This is a great chance to meet those people in person, get to talking with them, and just make new connections. It's awesome. And then the content. This is super important. Unlike very large conferences where you've got to sift through this large catalog of available conferences, at Comms vNext, all the sessions are going to be focused on Skype for Business, Teams, Microsoft UC related material only. You're going to have a hard time probably picking between which session and the two tracks you want to actually attend, and that's a good problem to have. That's what we want as far as the content that this event brings you. Finally, breakfast, lunch, and snacks are going to be provided throughout the day, and of course that token T-shirt that you get from each conference. Right? Don't miss out on getting the first ever Comms vNext T-shirt and other swag that's going to be at the event as well. And then, of course, who is putting this thing on? And I already told you who we are, but there's us. You can find out more about us and where we're coming from on the organizers page. Let's walk through this website a little more first, shall we? Hotel and registration. If you are intrigued, if you don't want to miss out on this event, I can tell you right now we are almost at 50% on registration. Almost 50% of the available seats are gone. This is going to be, like I said, the inaugural event is going to be free this year. So there are no costs associated with people traveling to the event aside from travel. Free. As far as some of those costs go, we've got hotels down here. You can see this is going to be at the Microsoft office in the Denver Tech Center, and all these hotels are in a quick little proximity to the venue, and so there's some of the hotels there. If we jump over to our vision, I'll let you guys read up on this, but this essentially tells you where we're starting, where the idea came from, and where we really want to see this thing go. So read up on that, learn what we're all about, learn what Comms vNext is really at the core, and where we envision this conference going in the future. Sponsors. These are the groups and the organizations that are making this thing possible, and we cannot thank them all enough. Microsoft, our platinum sponsor, providing the venue, coordinating with us on speakers and our keynote. We're very grateful for the contributions and ways that they have worked with us in making this conference possible. To all the sponsors that have signed on to support us in various ways. Audio Codes and Landis, our gold sponsors. Silver sponsors are Jabra and AnyNode. And on the bronze side, we have Pexip that has most recently joined us, and we are looking forward to wrapping up that last bronze sponsor spot hopefully this week here. But these are the organizations that we truly, hats off, giant thanks to for making this happen. Call for content. This is ongoing, but the call for content is closing by COB Friday, this Friday, the 20th of April. So if you're interested in speaking and haven't yet submitted an idea, submit the idea to support@commsvnext.com, and there are some very good tips about improving your chances, what we're looking for, what we need in a session, what we expect you to provide, all that good stuff. So check that out. Once this is gone and we have selected our speakers, we will get our speakers page put up here. It will be accessible for you, and also a sessions page that you can come and check out what the sessions are, what we're going to be talking about. And then finally, the organizers and contact pages. I'll let you explore those on your own, though. Let's jump over here. We are running the registration process out of Eventbrite. And like I said, this is a free event, as you see here for the pricing. This button takes you to registration. Super simple. Tell us who you are. Give us an email address to contact you at. Optionally provide company information, title, that kind of stuff, and then let us know your t-shirt size so we can make sure we've got enough t-shirts for everybody in the right sizes. Aside from that, that's all there is. Just register. You'll get your confirmation email, and you'll show up on June 9th in Denver, and it will be pretty freaking incredible. So that is how you register. Lastly, if you want to stay connected to know when we're changing, when we put the speakers page up and the sessions pages, when we establish the welcoming party on the previous Friday night, this is the page you're going to come to get those updates. Go to Twitter at comms vNext, follow us, and you'll get all those updates as they come out. Okay, again, I'm really excited. I spit that all out there really fast. Super excited about comms vNext. I hope this is amazing. I hope the community feedback and enthusiasm behind this event is just overwhelming, and that we launch this thing successfully this year and we send it out into bigger and better things for subsequent years. Please let us know your thoughts and feedback. We definitely welcome them. All right, moving along. Microsoft Teams. My goodness, there has been a ton of news. This blog post is what's new in April for the April update. Okay, it's out on the Microsoft Tech Community site. This post in particular was written by Ann Michaels over at Microsoft, and she has been extremely helpful and phenomenal with updating us on what's new, what the latest is on certain features. She has been all over that, and just a very vocal and present person in the community with what's happening in Teams. So, Ann, we thank you for your involvement, and we thank you for putting this blog post together. Having said that, let's start diving into some of these things that are in the April update, shall we? Okay, first up, contacts. People have been waiting for their contact groups to be ported over from Skype for Business to Teams for quite some time. And that process has begun, as Ann points out here. She even gives us a screenshot. We have our chat tab over here and contacts right up here. How cool is that? We can see they're separated into favorites and my team. And one thing that's important, and she calls this out here, this is rolling out. It's not just boom, they flip the switch and every Teams organization out there has contacts. It is rolling out gradually, okay, in phases here. And the first part of this rollout is that only people within your organization are going to be populated in those migrated contacts. Federated contacts will come after the fact. So don't get upset or think that something's off if you don't see your federated contacts. Be patient. That will come later on, okay? One of the things, let's see, now, okay. Yeah, so let's move along from here. Unified presence between Teams and Skype for Business. So if you've been waiting to get that in-sync presence between your Teams client and your Skype for Business client, that is now possible. This will ensure that you have that single present state regardless of the app or the device that you're using. However, the caveat here is for this to work, the Skype for Business account that is associated with your Teams user needs to be homed in Skype for Business Online, not in Skype for Business On-Prem, okay? That is the caveat for this unified presence to work. But there you go. There you have it. Out of Office message, we get another screenshot here showing us how this works, but a few things there. Your out of office status and message are going to show up in Teams when people hover over your card, or they're going to get a reminder that you're out of office when they @mention you or send you a private chat. So that's pretty handy. It's good to finally have out of office come to Teams. Now this one, the title is a bit misleading and confusing for some. Skype for Business Interop with persistent chat. This makes people that have a Skype for Business and Link background think we're talking about the persistent chat role. But if you read through this, this is actually not the case. What we're talking about here is that, like they said, to ensure continued productivity, they have added the ability for Teams users to communicate with other users who are using Skype for Business, both online or on-prem. Teams users can also view the full Interop chat history across their Teams clients. So you're a Teams user, you've been having chats with the Skype for Business user in your org. from your mobile device to your desktop device to web app, you're going to see the history of that chat persist in all these different locations. Super cool. Same disclaimer as above. If you want to see this working, that Skype for Business account that your Teams user is associated with must be homed in Skype for Business Online. It is what it is. All right, let's scroll on down here. Improved notifications about calls. So yes, this is essentially the notification activity feed process here. If you miss a call or you get a voicemail, it's going to show up in your activity feed. When it does, if you click on the call, it's going to take you to your call history tab. You can easily call back from there. If you click on a voicemail in the activity feed, it's going to take you to the voicemail tab. From there, you can either listen to the recording of the voicemail or read the transcript or however else you want to interact in your voicemail. Pretty cool. Collaborate securely with anyone in Teams with guest access. This takes guest access to a much wider scale. Instead of only inviting other guests whose accounts are rooted in Azure AD, you can now invite a guest of anyone that has an email address. And we're not just talking like an Outlook.com or Hotmail, Gmail.com, any email address. If the person's got an email address, you can add them as a guest. They can join. They'll have access to all the chats, the meetings, the files. Pretty cool stuff. And moreover, the same way that you're going to manage where was it going? All guests and teams are covered by the same compliance and auditing protection as the rest of Office 365. The fact that they are completely external guests doesn't change that story at all. Okay. Again, we have a screenshot of this happening. We're adding an Outlook.com user here. I think this point would have been better demonstrated, perhaps, if we had used an image of somebody with a Gmail or something outside of the Microsoft atmosphere, but I get it. Branding, whatever. New languages. Teams is now available in Indonesian, Romanian, and Vietnamese. So there you go. And to that point, if you missed the Enterprise Connect demonstration on the Microsoft keynote, where they showed inline messaging, multiple languages being typed into the same conversation in Teams, there is an upcoming feature that's going to allow you to translate that inline text right there in the chat. Super cool. I mean, talk about bridging barriers and breaking down these geographical walls. That is just so awesome. I look forward to seeing that. More channels per team. You can now have 200 channels in a team. That's a lot of channels. Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business Admin Center, including messaging policies. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. You can click on this to view the full announcement, but I've got that tab right here, and we're going to get to that in a little more detail. Retention policies. Pretty much what it sounds like. If you've been waiting for retention policies, you can now apply a single Teams policy to the entire organization or just specific users or specific teams and decide proactively whether to retain content or delete it. Pretty granular control, and this will really be a good thing for those that had specific compliance requirements and concerns surrounding retention. The ability to install the Microsoft Teams client using MSI. I hadn't even really thought about this angle as far as how Teams is provided to a wide audience within a big company. And I guess it just hadn't occurred to me to think about it in these terms yet, maybe because I'm not involved in any big projects yet that are, centered around deploying Teams to a wide audience. But this makes a whole lot of sense. People have been asking for it and wanting it, and now it's here, 32-bit and 64-bit. You now have the ability to deploy MSIs via SCCM, group policy, or some other third-party distribution mechanism for broad deployments of Teams within your organization. The Android apps and the iOS apps for your mobile device have received updates as well to allow for some of that Skype for Business interop with persistent chat. We already talked about that, as well as the unified presence and contact groups. They're all starting to roll out to those mobile clients. So keep an eye out for those if you are using the iOS or Android client. Guest access on mobile. There was some problems previously around using the switching mechanism between your guest's access and your regular tenant. particularly if you were in a managed device, right, using Intune or whatever. Now you can use account switching on both iOS and Android with unmanaged and managed devices. But for those managed devices, they point out here that you need to make sure you're on the latest versions of that authenticator and the company portal apps. Okay, definitely make sure you're updated on your phone with all the apps. And I must say, they have really improved this process. The switching happens like it is so quick. It is pretty slick, pretty impressive. I'm really glad to see where that's gotten to. And then finally, they want your input out there on user voice. Give them your thoughts, give them your feedback. This is one product group that I can say with 100% certainty is watching all this feedback. They're listening, they're taking it to heart, they're not ignoring it. It doesn't mean they're going to give you everything you ask for, but they are definitely listening and being responsive. So, by all means, if you have thoughts, feedback, suggestions, or problems, let them know, and they are listening. Okay, again, Anne, thank you for this blog post. Great roundup for April. Now, I told you we'd talk a little bit more about this admin center, so here we are. Admin center it is. We have a look at the admin center here, what it looks like at the main dashboard. If you saw previous demos of the admin center, you will notice that these teams, Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business Admin Center does not have as many options or menu items on the left-hand navigation as you might have seen demoed at Ignite or elsewhere. We're missing like voice routing and calling settings and all that. That is a good thing to notice and to pay attention to. What they say about this is obviously you're getting a unified experience for Teams and Skype for Business. They're bringing in call analytics and call quality dashboard into the mix as well. They are, let's see, but then they go on to talk about how this is coming out in different phases or versions. For this first version, the capabilities are going to include the following, and we kind of get an idea from the left-hand nav. Your Microsoft Teams messaging policies. Okay, you can create custom policies for the different messaging scenarios you might have for users. You can apply them at, again, various levels, user level, team level. So there's granular resources you've got for controlling the messaging experience within Teams. If you look on the screenshot here, you can see there's a number of settings that are controllable via these policies. I'm not going to dive into each of them. You can get all the way down to shutting things off like Giphy and memes, but why would you want to do that? I mean, they're just so awesome. Moving on. Assigning policies and configuring your users. So we've created policies. We now go to users and we can assign them. There's a few other user settings that we can view and assign and play with in here. Not all of them. Some of them will require you to go to the older, as we can see in here, legacy portal, currently the Skype for Business Admin Center, or even the Teams settings portion within the Office 365 Admin Center. And then guest settings. We can control messaging capabilities for guest accounts in Teams. Federation. An important point here. They say that you can manage federation between tenants for Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business. However, federation will roll out in stages. So the setting to control this may or may not show up for you yet if you are currently seeing the admin center. So when you finally see the admin center, if you don't already see it, you may or may not see federation until that is rolled out to your tenant as well. Make sense? Okay. Audio conferencing, you can configure those settings as well, dialing capabilities and all that from within the portal there. How do you get started with it? Well, they point out here, the new admin center is going to be rolled out in stages over the next coming weeks. Once it is available for you, you're going to see this notification in red down here showing up in the Teams settings section, which again is within your Office 365 admin center. That link in the red box will redirect you to the new Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business Admin Center. We can see that there are some settings that are going to be called out as, hey, these settings have moved over to the new Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business Admin Center. So you might try to work with the settings, but discover that you actually have to go over to this new admin center anyway. Other stuff will still be handled in their quote-unquote legacy locations for now. Okay, looking forward in the coming months, they're going to continue to improve it. They're going to add in new functionalities, migrate additional settings. Eventually we'll be able to control all of our voice stuff over there. That's what I'm looking forward to. So keep your eyes peeled. Stay in tune to what this dashboard has. Look at all these links, follow up with them, read the documentation, make sure you understand what's in the admin center and when. Eventually, one day, we won't be in this middle stage. We'll just have this one unified admin center where we do all of these settings from. Until then, keep a close eye on all this stuff for those of you that are IT pros out there. All right, some end of life announcements. Fellow MVP Tom Arbuthnot over at Modality Systems on his blog, Tom Talks, he has highlighted a couple different end of lives that we're going to talk about today. The first being third-party PSTN audio conferencing, the ACP functionality within Skype for Business Online. This is being end of lifed on April 1st, 2019. And don't you just love it when they do these things on April Fool's Day of all days? But it is what it is. They are retiring support for their third-party audio conferencing. How do you know if you're using that? It's something you probably should know, but if you don't, these are the providers that conferencing would be through. So you're going to need to figure out what the plan is going to be for audio conferencing. About a year from now, that cutoff date's going to come, so it's time to start planning that now. As part of that, to help minimize the impact of this change, we are offering a trial of audio conferencing for Office 365. For those of you that have E5 with audio conferencing, you're already covered. But this is an important thing to know about if you're using third-party audio conferencing with Skype for Business Online, and to start planning for it now. Tom, thanks for keeping us informed as always. And one more post here from Tom, Link Phone Edition, okay? Office 365 is going to enforce mandatory use of TLS 1.2 from October 31st, 2018. That's this year, October 31st, 2018. That means that Link Phone Edition, which does not support 1.2, will not be able to connect to Skype for Business Online. Okay, so because of the 1.2 requirement that's being enforced, Link Phone Edition will no longer work in Skype for Business Online. It cannot connect to it. I hope that's pretty clear for everyone. If you still have a large number or any number of Link Phone Editions connecting to Skype for Business Online, it is time to think about what that means. Tom has a lot more info down here. He's got different pieces of information covering this, what the LPE phone models are, lots of good information for you to dig into and to start planning out and thinking about your next steps, what those actions might be. I'm not going to dive into all this. I would encourage you to read Tom's blog post on this. But yeah, that's the short of the story, and it's pretty self-explanatory. So I've never personally, believe it or not, worked with Link Phone Edition. I have not had the pleasure, but many of you that I know have and currently do. So this is a very relevant topic for many of you to start planning for. All right, let's jump back over to the Infinity screen and my main camera. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I do apologize for how busy it's been and thus not having gotten a recap out in a while. We'll try to get these things a little more regular as the summer rolls on and these user groups happen and Comms vNext launches and the second quarter rolls around with all the new Skype for Business, and not Skype for Business, all the new Microsoft Teams features that are due in Q2. So stay tuned for all that. If you enjoyed the show, please retweet, share on LinkedIn, however you feel like spreading the word. I appreciate it in any and all cases. Thank you, and have a good day. Adios.